Hey, so it's been a couple of days since my stream with Owen MacDonald, and I've had work, so I've had time to not think about it, and I've also had time to think about it. I've had time to do some more research, and I have some more thoughts. So my next couple of videos, including this one, are going to be about further thoughts on my debate with Owen MacDonald. However, that Owen MacDonald will not be the focus of these videos. So, Saturday night, after I had stopped thinking about the debate as much, I started thinking about this quote, and I could have sworn that it was, what's his name? Drawing a blank. Orwell. I could have sworn it was Orwell who said that the best way to control a people is to limit the range of discussion but have very lively debate within that limited range. Now, when I went to look it up, apparently this was Noam Chomsky who said this. I didn't actually do a full research into that. I just looked at the first thing that popped up on Google, so it might not be Chomsky, but it probably is Chomsky, honestly. Chomsky is very old now. He's almost 100 years old, and he's a very intelligent man. He's also an anarcho-syndicalist, so he's not exactly right-wing. Now, the reason why I thought of this quote is because one thing that Owen MacDonald did actually do, he admitted that leftists have the same end goal, and that is egalitarianism. That is full egalitarianism. Now that any disagreement that exists is only in how to achieve that, and is therefore essentially irrelevant. If you have the same end goal, you are going to end up at that end goal one way or another. So it is all the same, really. And this quote describes that. Now, of course, during our debate, I brought up history. I referenced a meme, which may not have been the best thing to do, but I wasn't using the meme as evidence. I was using the meme as illustration. And the point was that leftism has been different things throughout time. Now, what research I've done the past couple of days has been on the French Revolution and the French court system, and the Declaration of the Rights of Man as adopted by the French revolutionaries. Now, the left and right divide originates with the French court during the 1789 French Revolution. The leftists who opposed the monarchy, who opposed the traditionalist system, sat on the left. And the people who supported the traditionalist system, the people who supported the monarchy, sat on the right. And this is literally the origin of our terms for left and right. So, what exactly did the left believe? Well, they adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man in 1789. And this was penned with help from Thomas Jefferson, who, by the way, was a liberal, not a communist. He was a liberal, and he owned slaves. So he did believe in hierarchy. He was a liberal in the Lockean sense, and Locke accepted hierarchy. So if you look at the Declaration of the Rights of Man, it is very similar to Enlightenment philosophy and to liberal philosophy. It does not state that there should be equal outcomes. It does not state there should be total egalitarianism of all wealth and social status and education and whatever else. It does say that people are equal with rights, with regard to rights. It does say that people are equal before the law. It also says that people have a right to their own property. Now, if you take this into context, I watched a documentary. I only watched two documentaries in preparation for this video, but I've already watched a documentary on Robespierre several months ago. And so the two documentaries that I watched, there was one from History Abridged. Now, I know what you're thinking. Abridged history is not usually the best, but it had some of the key points that I want to make. And I also watched a documentary from the People Profiles on the Marquis de Lafayette, who was a supporter of the American Revolution as well as the Revolution in France. And he helped get the Declaration of the Rights of Man into position. So the French leftists adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man. It was a liberal document. It was not a Marxist. It was not a communist document. It was not a socialist document. It did not preach full egalitarianism. Then you have the Marquis de Lafayette, and a marquis is a type of nobleman. He's right below a duke. And during the French Revolution, this marquis, he kept his position. He kept his nobility. And even after the revolution, he kept his nobility. No one ever tried to take the noble title away from him. So they did believe in hierarchy. They accepted hierarchy. They just didn't want things to be completely unfair. And what was happening is that the nobles were exempt from paying taxes, and the nobles were the only people with enough money to support the state. So the citizenry was very, very stressed, very burdened. And this is one thing they sought to abolish. They sought to abolish this differential treatment under the law. Another thing that was happening was that people were being deprived of their property without just cause. Without being tried before the law. And this was unfair. And this was something that they opposed. When they said liberty, equality, fraternity, this is what they were referring to. They were referring to equality before the law, equality of rights, not equality of outcome, which is what Owen MacDonald seems to be preaching. Not equality of total social standing, not equality of wealth. So the very origins of the distinction between left and right disagree with Owen MacDonald. And by the way, I will link a couple of these things in the description. I will link the Declaration of the Rights of Man. I will link to the History Abridged video. Now, furthermore, I would like to once again repeat about Tikhistory's video on public versus private. Now, Tik uses more sources than anyone else. And during the debate, Owen MacDonald said, how can he use so many sources and not come to the conclusion that it's about egalitarianism? Well, that's because it wasn't about egalitarianism. Historically speaking, egalitarianism is actually much more recent of a principle in leftist politics. It was not always about egalitarianism, at least not in the way that Owen MacDonald describes egalitarianism. Leftists very often did support hierarchy. And of course, I would like to point out that Tik's video is specifically about the economic divide, not the social divide necessarily. So when you watch his video, it's like an hour and 40 minutes. It does contain many sources. It's one of the best researched video essays period, that I have ever seen. So tick is good for the history of the term, of the terms left and right as well. The last video that I would like to bring up is, there was a channel called What is Politics, and they did a video on left versus right, and they essentially come to the same conclusion that Owen MacDonald does. They say that the left is characterized by equality, and the right is characterized by hierarchy. However, this person does mention that there have been some moderate differences throughout history, but generally they are the same principles. He also comes to the conclusion that leftists can support hierarchy in the what's the word I'm looking for? In the pursuit of equality. So specifically what he says right near the end is that leftists can support the existence of a government, and a government is a hierarchy, as long as they are doing so for the purpose of equality, of achieving equality. That's what this person says. So I will link to that video as well. Now, one thing that I would like to point out is that Owen MacDonald did admit that there are different standards, that there are different methods to achieving equality. But at the same time, he denies certain methods of achieving equality. Now, I brought up fascism as a method of achieving equality, but I didn't do a very good job of explaining this. One method of achieving equality, at least as proposed by leftists, is socializing man into equality, socializing man into egalitarianism. And this is the same method that, this is the method that Stalin believed in, and this is the method that the fascists believed in. So, supporting a hierarchy for the purpose of equality is leftist. And so fascism is leftist because it is in the same vein as socializing man in pursuit of equality. Now, and eventually you get to a point, the belief is that eventually you will get to a point where man has been socialized into equality and the hierarchy is no longer necessary. And so it dissolves, or it is taken down. That's the belief anyway. So yes, fascism is leftist. Stalin was a leftist. Communism is left-wing. And Owen MacDonald admits that there are these different philosophies, but he continues to push his very particular definition and methodology. Which, as I've already explained, has not been the only one throughout history. Now, the last thing that I want to say, and this actually does come from Orwell. Orwell said that the party wanted you to deny the evidence of your eyes and ears. And, well, I don't know how old Owen MacDonald is. I know he's a student, so he's probably fairly young. I'm 33. I have lived long enough to remember a time when the left, people who self-identify as leftists, were liberals. Or at least were much more liberal than they are now. I remember a time when people like Jon Stewart were liberal. I remember a time when people like Jimmy Fallon were liberal. Of course, now they give voice to communist ideals. They are no longer liberal. They are leftist, however, and they always were leftist. When you tell me that liberalism was never left-wing, first off, you're denying the history. It originates with the French courts. Second off, you are telling me to deny the evidence of my eyes and ears, and I cannot do that. You are telling me that what I have personally experienced is wrong, and I cannot do that. That is very Orwellian. That's about all. Thank you for watching. Peace.